I found an old photograph of Marilyn in a UNBC t-shirt, and that was back in the day when the university was just getting started. And I had come up from UBC where I was a professor, and I was studying some stress and fish on the Torpy. Little did I know years later that I would be back to this great campus. And as Pat acknowledged, John Bowman's here from the New Caledonia College, and Laurie Rancour's here from Northern Lights College. This is a talk about post-secondary education. International has been mentioned, but I cannot talk about anything other than how our post-secondary institutions will help in contributing in meeting the needs of what I quickly call, very easily call, a crisis in the shortage of skilled people in our communities. But let me start off with a word of congratulations, because it is an honor for me to serve in this role leading the University of Northern British Columbia, but it's very much your university, isn't it? I receive this welcome time and time again as I visit communities in the north where a proprietor or someone off the street, someone filling gas, and sees the UNBC on my car license plate or on my coat and says, and tells me, I was one of those 16,000 people that signed a petition that got that university started. And we think highly of it. It has to succeed. Tell us what you need. And I tell them, thank you. There isn't a university president in Canada that could hear better words from a community. I also hear, don't screw it up. But it is a university that has shown courage, like you in the community, and has innovated to bring about the programs that are needed. And like those proprietors that tell me continuously about their pride in their university, and many of them not having gone to university or college, I am pulled aside lately by people in airports, like the other day, someone from a large engineering company anticipating doubling their company, but they cannot find engineers and other professionals willing to come up and fill those jobs, so they're having to go overseas. Could we help with language and culture transitions? And it's a great pity and a shame. All of you, if not all of you, most of you will know, as I do through my visits to Fort St. John and other places, that whether you're in Tumbler Ridge, Mackenzie, or other communities that are busting at the seams for investments coming from companies, that workers and skilled workers are needed. So I wanted to start off with a note of congratulations, but also speak about how UNBC, in partnership with our other post-secondary institutions, might play a role in meeting those needs. And so I'd like to start with this picture. It is our campus as it looks a little whiter today, but it is this beautiful campus in Prince George. We have three regional campuses in Terrace, Fort St. John, and Quesnel. There's a population of about 4,000 students across the whole system. A lot of them are part-time, a lot of them are, the balance are full-time students, and the full range of programs that you would expect from a university today. We are one of the four research universities in British Columbia, joining UBC, University of Victoria, and Simon Fraser University. And one part of my pride comes when I am away from Prince George and people on the East Coast and others tell me, how did a university 20 years old manage to get itself to be ranked in the third place among universities of our size in Canada in such a short time? And I tell them about this community, a can-do community that doesn't take no for an answer. And as I talk about health and I talk about engineering today, I'd like you to remember my answer to that question. How does a university this young take on those challenges and succeed? When Roy Stewart and Tom Stedman were traveling around the north getting signatures for this university, they heard and met that courage time and time again. So it is a university that, that is founded here in the North, for the North, a community that rallied around a need for health care. I will be speaking about an ecosystem of support to economic development. Companies have approached me, not necessarily while I've been president here, but in other places as well, saying we would like to install a large presence in this community, but we're not going to do that until we have health care for our workers and we've got school for the kids of families that are going to move here. And so we can't isolate a need, meet it, and expect things to just turn over and be rosy. It is the breadth of professions, and whether you're project planners or social workers or nurses, the breadth and that comprehensive support for families and communities to thrive. We have a successful medical program. The Northern Medical Program has been a great success. Over 10 years of students, more than 5 cohorts of graduates, 6 cohorts of graduates, and here's a picture of one graduating class being shown here. We continue to take on challenges. This is it's a beautiful picture of a beautiful building on campus. It's our bioenergy facility. We now heat the Prince George campus on waste wood. And this is the project, and not just the facility. It was the facility getting its wood from Lakeland Mills a short distance away, and a community that supported it that allowed us to receive the first place award for sustainability in higher education in North America, and for which Harvard tied us. And we press on. The remaining utilities of 15% are the electricity. And we now have a large proposal in the works to get our electricity on bioenergy. And when we manage to get that done, we will plant the flag on our Everest and be the first university off-grid. So those are the kinds of challenges that we take on and continue to take on. As I said, in this day and age, it does take courage when there's very little money in government, if any, for new significant programs, to imagine large initiatives that we must imagine because the need is there in our community. The need for innovation, because if you're going to make it happen in this economic climate, we're going to have to get together, put our heads together and our resources together to take that step, and I'll be speaking more about that. So in a recent document, of course, the labor market outlook, Minister Bell's ministry has been very active in quantifying the jobs needs in our community. And certainly in the coming decade, the outlook is for a great number of jobs to be needed, as I've mentioned. And 78% of these will require post-secondary education. I recently was listening to someone giving a talk about the Site C project, and whether it's the Alcan expansion or the electrification of Highway 37 or the Site C project, this breadth of training is required. And this person was talking about all the skills and jobs that will be needed to enable this kind of growth. And while the spoken word addressed labor skills, technical skills, a lot of the jobs, a majority of the jobs on the board required some university training as well. And when we look at the region that's affected, 3 of the 4 regions expecting the fastest economic growth are in northern British Columbia. So as I finish this talk later on, you will see the logo for Canada Starts Here, and Canada really does start in northern British Columbia. As I mentioned, this word ecosystem, I want to again go back to the point that it's not just isolated programs, silver bullets that will solve problems, but really it is the breadth of post-secondary education that will do this. When we even talk about engineering, it's technologists as well as university-trained accredited professional engineers that are needed. When we're talking about healthcare, it's radiologists as well as surgeons. When we look at the area, the print is rather small, but when we look at the two areas expecting the fastest job growth, it's in the area of health and in natural and applied sciences. And I'd like to address those two quite briefly. But in terms of health, I've mentioned how our Northern Medical Program has been a success, and people like Jennifer Parker. Jennifer is one of the first grads from the Northern Medical Program. She grew up in Nelson and Chetwynd, completed the program, and has opened a new practice in Fort St. John. Lisa Sam is currently working in the Nakasley Health Clinic in Fort St. James. She's from there. She completed her studies at UNBC in nursing and received a national award 2 years ago for excellence in nursing on a reserve. It takes courage for individuals like this to come from their communities, take their training, and to go back. But let me mention two people who didn't have that opportunity. One is John MacDonald, who is our current chancellor. I really have to thank Charles, our past university president, who is sitting here to convince him to be our chancellor. John MacDonald, as he describes it himself, is a Prince Rupert boy. And he pointed out the curb to me when we were in Prince Rupert, where he was cutting class and got dragged back into class by his dad. But at the same time, on a serious note, he said, George, your charge, the university's charge, is to find the bright stars wherever they are and to open the doors to the world to them. John is well known for starting the company McDonnell Detweiler that got our country into space. Vern Detweiler is someone from Smithers, and they met each other while traveling back and forth to UBC during Christmas breaks and so forth because they had to. And John has told me that had such a university existed, the opportunities existed here in the North, he certainly would have taken his degree here. So looking ahead, I'd like to introduce you to Costa Sanis. Some of you might know him. Costa is the graduate of the first environmental engineering program at UNBC. Costa is from Terrace, and he was the first cohort in a program we have in partnership with the University of British Columbia, and he is the energy manager of the Endako mine near Fraser Lake. And I can go on and show you pictures of people after people persons after persons who have taken their training at one of our post-secondary educations and made a living and are contributing to the communities in which they live. It's an example of how we can expand our programs and deliver on the need. I should say community groups like the Northern Engineers Society. I see Albert Kohler here, people like Bill McGill and many others in the room have contributed to those societies. And those societies have performed studies that quantify the need, in this case, for professional engineers in the North. And they expect that we could train 500 right now and meet the needs that exist in our communities. It does matter. Engineers are individuals that innovate, are creative, think about problems and solve them. And I'd like to suggest to you that as we go forward, that an engineering program at the University of British Columbia is very important. Last year, the now Mayor, Laurie Ackerman, was on the phone with me, and we were talking about a group of engineers that were on the verge of leaving Fort St. John for someplace south. And these kinds of situations hit our communities, and when you think of the ecosystem working in reverse, when individuals leave, they take their wives or husbands with them who happen to be other professionals, whether teaching in a school or otherwise, take children out of our communities. And it's a difficulty that many of us face. While there is a need for professional engineers as mechanical and civil engineers, others will come up to me, quite rightly so, and say, you know, we don't need that, we need a chemical engineer. Because as has been discussed today in many talks, it's more than lumber. In fact, it's much more than energy. Some years down the road, perhaps the very high value products of pharmaceuticals and chemicals and other materials from our forests will yield very high value to our economies and our communities. We also imagine that this engineering program might be done in partnership with industry in a new and very creative way. When we called together some champions of the forest industry and shared with them some of the challenges we have in imagining funding such an engineering program, you know, they leaned forward on the desk and they said, you know, we do have labs in our mills. Might we dare imagine an engineering program that could utilize that? And it dawned on us, what a fantastic idea. Much more than co-op, but an engineering program here in the north that would be completely integrated into facilities. Sure, they weren't built for teaching, but couldn't they be renovated? Couldn't we imagine an engineering program at UNBC where classes might be taken here or there? We're looking forward to a Wood Innovation Center in downtown Prince George. We have classrooms up the hill on campus on Cranbrook Hill. But in terms of the hands-on learning, wouldn't it be a wonderful thing if we could integrate our learning experience with the needs and the presence in industry? On the research front, many of us are impatient. We know it takes time, the funding's uncertain. Couldn't we get something going where we could get some research going quickly? Indeed, yes. Linnaeus University in Sweden is keen to come over and deliver their master's programs in wood products engineering, in bioenergy programs here. In fact, they're coming over in a matter of weeks. We've had video conferences with them, and you know, when we mentioned the possibility, they were very enthusiastic about becoming partners and contributing. So this is our aspiration moving forward. We believe that the time is now, as the life of UNBC, short as it may be, has had these inflection points where the community has really demanded that a need be filled. And while I talk about an ecosystem and the need to maintain quality training across a wide spectrum of disciplines, the need for engineering and engineers in our north, for the north, is upon us. And I invite you to join us. We're sponsoring a breakfast tomorrow morning, and we will hope to have conversations with you and talk to you about how you, as an individual, a professional, a company, might see yourselves participating in making this a reality for the north. And so I'd like to close with this slide. We certainly see ourselves in the post-secondary system as part of the solution to economic development. We see ourselves at UNBC in partnerships with our good partners in the colleges as providing that training. But there are some programs that aren't available yet. And as someone said to me, you know, that's a gap we have to fill. As that I know I allude to this story a lot, but that taxi driver that drove me up the hill and said, what are you guys doing? It's been 20 years. Where's that hockey team? Where's that football team? And it continues as I walk around, people saying, where's the engineering program? And people who hold my feet to the fire saying, you know, we need that program wholly here at UNBC. I've subscribed to that completely. Living and realizing that in this economic time is a challenge. But I think to myself that I'm looking at the solution as I stare out to you. So thank you very much for your time and for your continued support of UNBC, your university. Thank you.